we mentioned offline Daniel Negreanu. I'm gonna get a chance to talk to him on this podcast, and he's somebody that I found fascinating in terms of the way he thinks about poker, verbalizes the way he thinks about poker, the way he plays poker. So, and he's still pretty damn good. He's been good for a long time. So you mentioned that people are running these kinds of simulations, and the game of poker has changed. Do you think he's adapting in this way? Do you like the top pros? Do they have to adopt this way, or is there still like over the years you basically develop this gut feeling about like you get to be like good the way like Alpha Zero is good. You look at the board and somehow from the fog comes out the right answer. Like this is likely what they have. This is likely the best way to move, and you can't really put a finger on exactly why, but it just comes from your gut feeling, or no?
Yes and no. So gut feelings are definitely very important. That we've got our two modes, or you can distill it down to two modes of decision making, right? You've got your sort of logical, linear voice in your head, system 2, as it's often called, and your system 1, your gut intuition. And historically in poker, the very best players were playing almost entirely by their gut. Often they would do some kind of inspired play and you'd ask them why they do it and they wouldn't really be able to explain it. And that's not so much because their process was unintelligible, but it was more just because no one had the language with which to describe what optimal strategies were, because no one really understood how poker worked. This was before, we had analysis software. No one was writing, if I guess some people would write down their hands in a little notebook, but there was no way to assimilate all this data and analyze it. But then, when computers became cheaper and software started emerging, and then obviously online poker, where it would like automatically save your hand histories, now all of a sudden you kind of had this body of data that you could run analysis on. And so that's when people started to see, these mathematical solutions. And so what that meant is the role of intuition essentially became smaller. And it went more into, as we talked before about, this game theory optimal style. But as I said, like game theory optimal is about loss minimization and being unexploitable. But if you're playing against people who aren't, because no human being can play perfectly game theory optimal in poker, not even the best AIs. They're still like, they're 99.99% of the way there or whatever, but it's kind of like the speed of light. You can't reach it perfectly.
So there's still a role for intuition?
Yes. So when you're playing this unexploitable style, but when your opponents start doing something, suboptimal that you want to exploit, well, now that's where not only your like logical brain will need to be thinking, well, okay, I know I have this, I'm in the sort of top end of my range here with this hand, so that means I need to be calling X% of the time, and I put them on this range, etc. But then sometimes you'll have this gut feeling that will tell you, what, this time I know mathematically I'm meant to call now. I'm in the sort of top end of my range, and this is the odds I'm getting. So the math says I should call, but there's something in your gut saying they've got it this time. They've got it. Like they're beating you. Maybe your hand is worse. So then the real art. This is where the last remaining art in poker, the fuzziness, is like, do you listen to your gut? How do you quantify the strength of it, or can you even quantify the strength of it? And I think that's what Daniel has. I mean, I can't speak for how much he's studying with the simulators and that kind of thing. I think he has, he must be to still be keeping up. But he has an incredible intuition for he's seen so many hands of poker in the flesh. He's seen so many people, the way they behave when the chips are, when the money's on the line, and you've got him staring you down in the eye. He's intimidating. Mm-hmm. He's got this like kind of X factor vibe that he, gives out.
And he talks a lot, which is an interactive element, which is he's getting stuff from other people.
Yes. Yeah.
And just like the subtlety. So he's probing constantly.
Yeah, he's probing and he's getting this extra layer of information that others can't. Now, that said, though, he's good online as well. I don't know how, again, would he be beating the top cash game players online? Probably not. No. But when he's in person and he's got that additional layer of information, he can not only extract it, but he knows what to do with it still so well.